Hey, Rebels. Before we start this episode, I want to ask you a question. Do you ever struggle with overthinking, perfectionism, or getting overwhelmed about all that you're trying to do? I want to tell you about something super cool that can help. The Goals with Soul Virtual Summit from May 1st through 4th. Yours truly is one of the guest speakers for this amazing conference. For 4 days, you're going to learn bite-sized habits and mindset shifts via a private podcast feed to help you take courageous action to achieve your goals in a totally doable, sustainable way, no matter how busy you are or how little time you have for yourself. During the summit, you'll hear about everything from harnessing your personal superpower and aligning with your core goals to releasing people-pleasing behaviors, stopping the mind swirl, and setting and crushing your goals. Plus, so much more. And did I mention it's completely free? Check out the details in the show notes, register, and come get inspired with us at the Goals for Soul Virtual Summit.
Women are uplifting one another, which we all know sometimes women can be a little catty with one another. But in the Silver community, I see more women uplifting each other and encouraging each other to embrace themselves, celebrate one another, and let's inspire everybody to be totally accepting of whatever you want to do. We're not anti-color. We're just anti anybody telling us we have to color to be relevant. And there's a bonding that kind of comes out of that boldness of being like, I'm doing me now, and spent a lot of years doing everybody else or what everybody else told me I should do. But this is finally my time. And it starts usually with a little bit of that hair courage and then kind of expands into everything else that we're doing.
Welcome to Reinvention Rebels. Stories of brave and unapologetic women, 50 to 90 years young, who have boldly reimagined life on their own terms to find new purpose and possibilities. I'm your host, Wendy Battles. Ready for a dose of inspiration? Let's get to it. I am so excited about my guest today, 55-year-young Robin Salls. Robin's done something that I think about a lot at 58, embracing my gray hair. In January 2021, looking for community where none existed, Robin created the first ever magazine, Tangled Silver, for silver-haired women. She wanted to help women embrace aging and feel empowered to find their tribe. 2 years later, she's on a roll, having published 10 issues and featuring amazing silver-haired women. The journey to navigating our changing hair, not to mention our midlife bodies and skin, is no joke. We all know our hair is a big deal throughout our life. Some of us embrace silver hair. Others, well, we're trying to figure it out, myself included. Each of us are finding our way and uncovering what's right for us. Isn't it powerful to have help along the way and realize you're not alone? I love that Robin's created a space to normalize this natural part of aging and to showcase the freedom that comes with embracing our bodies and ourselves just as we are. I'm excited about this reinvention conversation. Robin Salls, welcome to the Reinvention Rebels guest chair.
Oh my gosh. Thanks, Wendy. I'm so happy to be here.
I love how we connected on Instagram and somehow started following each other, and that led to conversation. And then we said, oh, we have so much synergy between us. Let's collaborate. So I'm so excited to invite you on. And I bet you can imagine, Robin, that I have a whole host of questions for you about your reinvention journey. And I wanted to begin with something pretty basic. What inspired you to not only go gray, but to reinvent yourself as a magazine publisher for silver-haired women?
Well, that probably goes back all the way to my childhood in a sense. I knew I would be silver or white at some point. I had a grandmother who rocked her white hair and was always so energetic and full of life. So I wasn't afraid of going gray. I just didn't expect to do it until I was like 70, 80, maybe 90. And at 26, I found some grays, and I had a stepfather at the time who was no longer stepfather. Maybe this is why, and made the comment above me during a family photo that if I didn't color my hair, I was going to look older than my mother. What 26-year-old woman wants to hear that you're going to look older than your mother? So I kind of struggled and hid it for all those years. And then 2018 came around and I was just really tired of it, kind of bored. And I was noticing that a lot of younger women were coloring their hair silver purposely. And, made a comment to my daughter that I was thinking about going silver and would she be okay with that? Because her wedding was like 9 months out. And I thought, well, I might have to wait till after the wedding. And my daughter looked at me and just said, oh my God, Mom, girls my age are paying for it. Just do it. And I was like, all in.
Love that.
All in to go silver. And the magazine piece, kind of fell into the thing. Again, childhood, I was always big into magazines. I had teen magazines out the wazoo. And when I wanted to look for inspiration, there weren't as many accounts with Silver Sisters back in 2018 as there are now. But I was looking and finding a few here and there, but I really wanted a magazine. And I was kind of mad that when you went into the salons, there were magazines for hairstyles, for everything else, but not for somebody wanting to go silver and wanting to see somebody that rocks it, not this little old grandma that looks all, dull and boring like you'd think of with gray. So I kind of was like, well, there's not one out there, so I'm just going to throw one together.
I love how you say just throw it together because I know it's a lot more work than that. But I really like how, one, you trusted your gut about you had this feeling it was the time for you and you wanted to do this and you went with it and then combined it with this idea and this passion about magazines. Like you already like this. You're like, and there isn't anything that looks like me because I think that representation part is so key that we all want to see a reflection of ourselves in some way, shape, or form. And I appreciate that you said, well, if it doesn't exist, I'm going to create it.
Yeah. Well, there's so many times where like, we just don't, you want to see something physically that it almost makes it okay to see it. And when you don't see it, you're like, does that mean it's not okay to do it? And the message around gray for so long has been, you gotta fight it. You gotta stay young. You can't go gray. And so I was kind of mad that there wasn't anything that really just showed those Silver Sisters rocking it with long hair, short hair. It didn't matter whatever style you like, but just the gray really being embraced and welcomed. And yeah, it was time. It was time.
And I think it does set such a great example for those of us that are like, I can see it's coming in and I go back and forth and I'll let it go on for a while. Then I'm like, not yet. So it does normalize it. And also these women are stunning. So many women wear gray and silver so beautifully. And it makes me think, oh, okay, I see that. So then I think, well, then maybe I could wear it in an okay way too.
I think when you see more women, like the images originally are kind of like the little older lady and the cane and the crouched over hair up in the tight little bun. And then suddenly you're seeing all these women that have either spiky, fun, sassy haircuts or they've got long flowing silver hair. And like for myself, I never had longer hair than I have now. It was never this long and healthy as it is now that it's silver and I'm 55 than all the years of teenage years and 20s and 30s. I mean, it's just, you just don't get to see those images as often. So I think that especially the women in our magazine, it really kind of holds out the hope that like, this is not your grandma's gray, buddy.
It is so not your grandma's gray. And I think you're right. There are so many different styles. And just like we style our hair now in all kinds of different ways, there's so many ways to do it that's incredibly becoming, just really attractive. So I am so all in on this idea and the magazine. I think it's interesting because so often in midlife for some women, confidence can be a challenge. And sometimes women have this idea, oh, I feel like I have this inkling about something that maybe I could reinvent myself, but I'm really not sure how to go about doing it. So I think it's very interesting that you gave yourself only 3 weeks, not 3 months, not 3 years, but 3 weeks to publish your first issue. The concept you had to the finished product, which I really can't even imagine. And, and I feel like it has a lot to do with my theme for the season this year with Reinvention Rebels, do it scared and do it anyway. What gave you the confidence to make this really ambitious goal happen in 3 weeks?
So, I like to challenge myself and I work best under pressure. And so I knew I wanted to do the magazine and I kept thinking about it. And I finally came to the point where like, I either just have to announce I'm going to do it to get it done, or I'm just going to spend too much time thinking about it, because that's that scared, like, what if nobody else likes it? What if nobody reads it? What if? So I just literally did. I went on my Instagram account at the time, that was to my private Instagram Tangled Silver account, and just said, hey, in 3 weeks, January, I think it was the 15th, Tangled Silver magazine is going to launch. And my husband came upstairs because he had been downstairs at the time. He says, did you just see that you posted you're launching a magazine in like 3 weeks? I was like, uh-huh. And he went, do you know what you're doing? I'm like, kind of. He's like, have you talked to anybody yet? I was like, nope, but I got a list of the girls I want to call right now, the women I want to call that I've been following. And he's just shook his head and went, okay. And just turned and went downstairs, because he knows better than to question me any farther than that. Once I put it out there, it's going to happen.
You believed in yourself. You're like, I have the passion. I have this idea. I've got at least a short list of people I can call. I mean, how did you pull it together so quickly in 3 weeks? Like, what are some of the things you did to make it happen? And I'm asking that because so often people have an idea, but they get paralyzed with fear and they're not willing to kind of take that leap. Like, you took this leap and you trusted yourself, obviously, to be able to do this. So what are some of the things that you did to kind of, once you said, I'm going to do it, what happened after that?
Well, there were a lot of email messages, Instagram messaging to women, right? And back then, I mean, 2018, there wasn't the amount of women that there are right now. So when you were Instagramming somebody in Messenger, they were more likely to see it because they weren't getting bombarded by thousands of messages or followers or all the stalkers, you know what I mean? But a lot of times now women are more picky about what they look at in their inboxes because of all the craziness that can be out there. But in 2020, it really wasn't the case. And so I spent a lot of time just reaching out to the women via messengers, commenting on their stuff, and then saying, hey, I've got this idea. I'd love to chat with you about it. So that was the initial way that I got picked. And I was very particular with the women I did because they were women I was following at the time. The magazine was pretty much all long hair, that first issue. My cover gal was this beautiful woman with curly hair. She's amazingly gorgeous. And I knew I wanted her for my cover. She was had this energetic smile, this personality. So, I mean, I started with her and was like, hey, and I was so lucky that she jumped on board and went, yes, I'm all in. And it was developing the relationships with those women. Like, we really didn't know at that point in time. I knew I wanted to share stories, but I didn't know how to go about that. So the first issue was really more about just giving you the visuals of women rocking their silver hair. And then after the first issue actually went live, we went, oh, okay, we did it.
I can do this.
Then I started focusing on what I really wanted to do, the message. I really wanted to go deeper into the stories and share more than just their gorgeous silver hair. I wanted you to hear the how, when, why, reasons behind what they were doing. And then we wanted to add the entrepreneur section, because when you talk about the reinventing yourself, a lot of us get to 50 and everybody goes, oh, life is kind of over. But yet at the same time, when you're in your 50s, a lot of us are discovering that no, we really are being reinvention and rebels, right? Like, we're starting to find new passions. Kids are grown out of the house, and all of a sudden these things that you maybe couldn't do beforehand because of all your other commitments, suddenly the doors open and you kind of get to go like, ooh, who'd I get to be now? And so that was really a big part of it for me. It was wanting to share the entrepreneur side of it, to kind of give you a piece of it. And it's not just about hair, right? A lot of times people think, oh, it's just about hair. It's not. It's about the whole lifestyle that comes with us in their 50s. And I like to call it the silver lifestyle, because it's 50 plus, it's silver hair, it's silver inspirations, it's midlife, it's dealing with all the things that come along. And again, we are totally reinventing ourselves, whether it's in business, whether it's personal. Some of us are going through divorces and getting remarried. Some of it's a career change that's going to happen. Sometimes it's your health that's happened. Menopause. I mean, oh my goodness, Lord knows menopause affects all of us in so many different ways that we were never taught about as we were growing up. So it really is this total reinvention package that you're doing. And I just felt like we had to address all of that in the magazine that spoke to women, by and for silver-haired women that actually were walking the talk and knew about it, could tell you about it. So not somebody that's like 20 going, oh, what's that look like? I mean, we're the women that are in there going through the hair care, the comments that we get, because as much as you sometimes get encouragement, you also get a lot of negative, like, why are you going gray? You're too young to go gray.
Right.
Yeah, the whole package just kind of all came together.
I love how you talked about how it evolved, that you got out there, you had a vision for the first issue, you were building relationships. So you reached out these people that, you're interested in, that you were talking to. So I like the relationship part of it, because to me, that's part of the community that you've been building, but then also how it evolved, because I think that so many times we might get out there and start something and reinvent ourselves, but that it's really really an ongoing journey, that it's not just okay, there we go, I'm done. But with you, you're evolving. Your vision is changing. It's broadening. That's what I hear you saying, from the initial issue to now here you are working on your 11th issue and all kinds of other things that you've included. So I like that idea, and reminding women that we can always continue to evolve, which is what I say even about being a podcaster. Like, I've grown so much. I've changed so much since I got started. And like, you didn't really know. I mean, you had already done magazines before, but I didn't really know what I was doing, but I figured it out and I've continued to evolve. I think that's also a part of this idea of reinvention, that we can have a reinvention within reinvention.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's never, you spot on word with it. You made the comment, it's not ever ending. It's evolving. Because a lot of women, especially when you're talking just our hair, they get to a point they go, oh, I'm completely silver. Now what? Or like, I'm done. And I was like, well, are you really done? Because what your silvers today are probably not going to be what they are 10 years from now. And then are you really ever done evolving in life? I mean, every single cycle something keeps changing within us, rather it's your spirit, your energy, your health. There's just like you said, always evolving. It's a continual ride.
Yeah. And when you can seize that, as so many of these women are doing, and I think their stories are encouraging, right? When you interview them and they share their story about their hair journey, but then also these other things they're doing, it certainly can spark something in others. Which brings me to my next question, which is about community, because it feels like you've created this really tight-knit community of silver-haired women. Why is community so key when you're on this silver-haired journey?
Well, I think community is key in all sorts of aspects of life. But I think when it comes to the silver community, I think where it really plays into it is that we were all fed these stories, kind of spoon-fed stories about getting older and going gray for women was not a thing. And that we were supposed to stay young and keep our hair blonde. If you were blonde, dye it blonde, dye it brunette, whatever, stay young, because that's the message society has sent to most women, that, aging is supposedly not a beauty standard, right? But yet I feel like, one of our things we've created was a hashtag that says I am silver beauty, because I think it's really important that we all look at ourselves and acknowledge that within ourselves. And the community helps that. When you see other women embracing their silvers and grays and actually walking out confidently and boldly with it, if you were kind of on the fence a little bit, like it kind of makes you go, oh, okay, I can do it too. And it's just like, it's not like no other community is the best way to put it. That connection of kind of being a rebel, so to speak. Tie that in.
I love it.
Little pun there. That rebel spirit of like, I'm going to go gray regardless of what anybody else says about it. And, it's me. Take it or leave it. I think that really kind of bonds a lot of us together, because it's this piece that like, wow, women are uplifting one another, which we all know sometimes women can be a little catty with one another. But in the silver community, I see more women uplifting each other and encouraging each other to embrace themselves, celebrate one another, and let's inspire everybody to be totally accepting of whatever you want to do. We're not anti-color. We're just anti anybody telling us we have to color to be relevant. And there's a bonding that kind of comes out of that boldness of being like, I'm doing me now, and spent a lot of years doing everybody else or what everybody else told me I should do, but this is finally my time. And it starts usually with a little bit of that hair courage, and then kind of expands into everything else that we're doing.
I love that it's this ripple effect, that taking this action,
Yes.
this often bold action that might be unexpected for people, or I only know so-and-so this way, and now they're going gray and they look different and I'm not used to that. So standing in our power and doing what we want to do, I see how that is a gateway to then doing these other things, because it's very empowering to say, this is what I want to do, and I don't care what people think. So
that is it's totally empowering to be able to say that to yourself.
Yeah. And I feel like so many of us need that. We can be empowered in many different ways in midlife. That's one of many ways that we can do that. But I think that it's such a great example, because I think so many times in midlife, because as we know, we might have been, parents, or we're busy with our careers, or we're doing whatever we're doing that is often focused on other people. And generally, for most of us, not enough on ourselves. We already know we're all givers generally, and doing for others. I think it's also part and parcel of this idea that this is my time. However that might manifest, it's my time to focus on what I want, because I'm kind of sick of trying to please everybody else. Hey, Rebels. This conversation that I'm having today with Robin, so much of this is about finding our courage, finding our place, getting comfortable with who we are in midlife. In this case, getting comfortable with our hair, however that shows up for us, whether we've gone gray or thinking about going gray like me, or we're like, I won't go gray for a long time. It doesn't matter. But taking a step to do something different, it can be a little scary. But we also know that on the other side of our fear, when we do it scared and do it anyway, so much possibility lives over there. If you're a little unsure about wherever you are right now, whether it's about your hair or something else, and you're navigating midlife and trying to figure it out, I have to encourage you to check out my Do It Scared, Do It Anyway cheat sheet. It's some simple questions to get you thinking about how you can take a look at those fears and begin to move past them as you reinvent. Of course, it's free. You can download it and get busy beginning to brainstorm and get inspired. Details, of course, are in the show notes.
Well, and as women, we're kind of meant, we're brought up to be the nurturers and to take care of everybody else first. It's like that concept, if you're on the airplane and they tell you basically, they drop the oxygen mask, put it on yourself first. And your first instinct as a mother is like, well, now I got to put it on my kids first. Got to take care of my babies first, right? But again, if you put it on them first and you pass out, you might not get all of them. So you got to put it on yourself first. And so it's that same thought process, I think, of the whole, it is self-love, and women don't give ourselves enough self-love. And so it is in midlife, like you said, we kind of come to a place where kids are gone. We get to kind of define who we are. For me, I was always, hi, I'm Elle's mom. Hi, I'm Elle's mom. And suddenly when my daughter graduated and we were empty nesters, it was like, ooh, who do I get to be now? I get to be Robin. Yeah. I get to say, hey, I'm Robin. Oh, what does that look like, though? What is Robin passionate about? What does Robin want to share with the world at this point? And it's definitely a confidence thing. Like you have to kind of, you're peeling off those layers that you've packed on for so long because you've been somebody's husband, somebody's wife, not somebody's husband. You've been, somebody's spouse. You're peeling back the layers of discovering who you really are and what you really want to do. Because somewhere along the lines, like when we're in our youth, we're all about ourselves, right? We want to do this. We're going to go do this. We're going to go to college. We're going to do this career. And then we start getting married and having families, and we kind of get caught up in all of that. And then midlife kind of gives us an even playing field again.
Yeah, it really does. It's almost like a intentional do-over if we choose to take up that mantle and figure it out. Because to your point, it does require peeling back the layers and sometimes doing a lot of personal development work and tuning into our self-awareness. And some of that work is hard. It's not always easy to get to the other side where we can reinvent ourselves. But I always feel like if we are willing to go there and sometimes go through the muck to get to the other side, there are so many possibilities, as evidenced by, I'm going to start a magazine for civil-haired women, or I'm going to do whatever so many women doing so many amazing things. I've interviewed so many fierce women that are finding their stride in their 50s and their 60s, 70s and beyond. So really at any age, I don't think, because I know that we also all evolve at different times. Right? Some of us in our 50s, maybe we're still trying to figure it out, but in our 60s, like we're on fire, or our 70s. So I always feel like there's endless possibilities for us if we so choose.
No, I would 100% agree with that. And I think it also comes at a time when you're ready for it. Like in my 20s or 30s, I probably wouldn't have been ready to take on creating a magazine for anything, much less silver hair, right? And then here we were. I mean, I went into this magazine where people are going, you're doing a magazine, you do know digital is the way to go now, right? Everybody's doing digital. And it was like, well, yeah, but I want to do this. I need to do this. And if it, again, it's jumping off, taking that leap of faith and following your passion about something that you want to do and believe in. And I really believed in the fact that like I was struggling so hard to stay young, because that's what some of my closest friends were like, oh, we have to stay young. We're going to die and we're going to go to the grave trying to be young, right? And then it just got to a point where it's like, well, wow, is that filling my soul? Is that feeding my soul? Absolutely not. Was I getting frustrated when commercial, brands were trying to sell me, say, wrinkle cream, and they're using a 20-year-old? Well, heck, at 20, I didn't have wrinkles either. So why are they? It was just very frustrating for me to see so many things that were anti-women embracing aging gracefully. And so it just made sense.
So I know, Robin, that I've spent so many years thinking about my hair, fighting with my hair, coming to really appreciate my hair. I feel like many of us have had that no matter what kind of hair we have, what kind of texture our hair is, whether it's too curly, it's too straight, it's too whatever. And I know that many of us have wrestled with this in different ways when we're younger. And obviously as we age, because I know also as we age, the texture of our hair changes too. So it adds in a different variable. So you tell so many amazing stories in the magazine about women and their silver journey. Can you share a few memorable stories about some of the women you featured that really might inspire other women listening?
There's been so many women that I've had the opportunity and blessed opportunities to meet and chat with. There's a woman, Kat. She went through a brain tumor situation with her. So her choice to color her choice to not be coloring her hair and to go silver was really health related. And sometimes I love those stories because her choice was kind of taken away from her, right? So she had to embrace it. And yet she's come back and she has the most beautiful white silver hair now, and it's so healthy. So when you hear that she had a tumor and had to shave her hair at one point in time, it's hard to imagine like, oh no, that can't possibly be you. She's so full of life. Her hair is so absolutely beautiful. And there's her story of that. I mean, she's fabulous. And there's women like Angel Mason 276, who has beautiful white hair as well, and was so motivated by her hair journey that she went out and created a product that helps women rock their silvers. You know, the stories just continue to come in. And gosh, it's just hard. A lot of the stories are just the way that it made them feel about themselves, right? Like they were dealing with it. They didn't want it. They were tired of it. The appointments that were causing the itching and scratching. I mean, for some people, going and getting it colored as often as you end up getting as you get older, a lot of them were coming down to they were like 2-week windows of having to go and sit in a coloring chair for 2 hours to cover those grays. And they were itching and scalps were red. And it was all this nasty kind of like allergic reactions that were happening. And they finally just realized they were more valuable than trying to keep their hair a certain color and just released that. And then they amazingly have these heads of strands that are now healthier than they've ever been. Like I said to you, I have never had my hair this long and this healthy. I went to a new stylist just a couple of weeks ago because my stylist went on maternity leave and did not come back. And the new stylist looked at me and she goes, wow. She goes, what are you doing to your hair? It's so healthy. I was like, yes, a hairstylist. She just told me she asked me how I'm doing. My hairstylist is asking me how I got my hair so healthy. You know, because very rarely do you get afraid to go to your stylist. Like when you go and you have the conversation, so I think I'm going to go silver. And a lot of them, there's some really great ones that will encourage you, but there's a lot of times where you're going to hear, well, are you sure you want to go gray? Yeah, gray might make you look a little old. How about if we just maybe highlight you a little bit and blend it? I mean, there's not that rush to be like, when you walk in, you go, hey, I think I want to put pink in my hair. They're like, yeah. You don't get that same response when you say, I'm going to go gray. It's kind of are you sure about that? You know, kind of for the most part, there are some great hairstylists out there that really rock it. So when I went to this gal and she was asking me how I took care of my gray hairs because it was super healthy, I was like floored. I was just like, I was like, pat myself on the back, like, yes, okay. It does look healthy. When your hairstylist tells you it's healthy, it's healthy. You're not just telling yourself it's healthy. Like I said, it's hard to say because I've addressed so many wonderful women from all ranges of everything. I mean, I love, there's a gal in Russia. There's a gal who is in Germany, and they all deal with things differently than over here. Where like the gal in Russia is younger. So she was in her 20s when I first met her, and she was embracing it because she just had so much of it naturally. And had been growing since she was like 13, but she felt she always had to cover it because it was so not welcomed over there at the time. So it was great getting to chat with her and getting her perspective from over there. And now she is like leading the charge in her country for letting gray become a little bit more acceptable, especially to the younger women and not just the older women. So it's just such a unique experience. I mean, each and every one of these women, if I could give everybody a chance to read every single issue, I'd say go back and do every single issue because each story is so uniquely their own.
I can see that. And I know what you mean about Angel because I interviewed her on the podcast back in, I don't know, maybe season 2. And
she's fabulous.
So fabulous. And I loved when she was in the magazine, and she's got such an inspiring story about how she started this whole line of products for women with silver hair because
in her kitchen, right?
Yes, in her kitchen it's such a great story, both about her hair journey, but also what came out of that. Just like what's come out of it for you, creating this really fantastic magazine. And I'll, for those of you that haven't heard a story, I'll link to it in the show notes, but it's so awesome. And again, so empowering. And part of what I hear in you sharing some snippets about these really amazing women, Robin, is that they are all rebels. They are all standing up and saying, this is who I am. And we kind of mentioned this earlier in that bold way. I love that because I feel like we don't have enough role models like that, where people feel good about themselves in their bodies. I think there's so many things about just aging that can feel discouraging based on the society in which we live. And you have to really do a lot of inner work sometimes to appreciate your body, to appreciate what you have, that it's okay that it's changing. It's still beautiful. And this is just another extension of that, about accepting ourselves and leaning into love ourselves up more. So I can't help but love the message and the idea of what you're doing.
I agree with you. I think that in some ways, each of these women, some of them will go, we're not a rebel. I'm not a rebel, but it really does feel like living outside the box a little bit, because we've been sold so long on, don't call, got to color your hair, cover up the grays. Again, it's that self-talk. A lot of women, when they start doing it, like I get asked a lot, like, oh, if my hair, I shouldn't say asked, but like statements, oh, if my hair would only look so like your shade of silver, I would totally do it. But it doesn't. Or, I just think I'm going to be dull and boring. Well, I really want to come back and say again, that's the I am silver beauty message, is the sense that what you say to yourself is what you project to the world. And I fully believe that. So if you feel your gray is dull and boring and icky, you're walking out the door presenting dull and boring and icky, because that's what you're telling yourself before you even leave the door. But if you walk out and you're like, my silvers rock, I own these things, your whole energy level is completely different. All of a sudden people are going, wow, your silvers are real shiny. It might not even really be that they're truly all that shiny, but you're presenting yourself to the world like, I got this. And I think that makes a huge difference. And I think that even if you're not silver, women in midlife in general, we have to start owning our midlives. We have to start taking ownership and going, you know what? It is okay to be getting older. It's part of life. We can't stop it. So let's embrace it and celebrate it and inspire others to do the same thing. And then this whole thing of getting older won't be so scary the way I feel like it's been presented to us.
That is so true. And seeing this idea that we can age in so many different ways, that we can age vibrantly, that we can age with silver or not silver or however we please, but that it definitely doesn't have to be this horrible thing that, we've been told. The whole line of thinking about, older women and our value in society. And it's like, I don't think so. I can rock it. I can be fabulous. I can be healthy. I can be 85 and healthy and, just be empowered and doing what I want to do. So it's such a great message for all of us, whether we're already silver or we're not silver at all, or we're thinking about, like me, going back and forth.
But a lot of people do that. And the thing is, I always say, you got to do what's right for you. Somebody said, I had really close friends in the beginning when I said, okay, I'm going to let my grays come in. They were like, oh, I can't do that with you. And I was like, well, I didn't ask you to do it with me. I'm just letting you know that that's what I'm doing. And if I don't like it, I'll color it, but I'm going to give it a couple of years and see what happens. And I think that's the scary part. I think it's that, when you asked me earlier about doing something scared, the silver thing was scary because I had spent so much time trying to cover them up. And even though I knew at some point I was not scared of silver itself, I was scared of what everybody around me would think about me going silver. And then I realized I didn't really need their approval with that anyways. And who was I hurting? My choice to let my hair go silver wasn't forcing anybody to go silver with me. My mother said to me, oh, honey, I know your mother's supposed to be silver before you, but I can't do it. And I was like, and that's okay. My mother now has the most gorgeous full-headed silver. She joined me 2 years later on the journey and is completely 100% silver now and rocks her silver.
Love that. I love it. Look at the influence you had. I love it on your mom, who's like, okay, I'm going to do this. So yes, all we need to give ourselves is permission. We don't need anyone else's permission, just ourselves to do whatever we want to do, because I've gotten much more comfortable now as I'm kind of easing into it. I'm like, okay, well, a lot of it's upfront, but now when it comes out, I'm like, oh, I do videos with it. I do, whatever. So I'm just kind of easing into it. And I think that's really the key for any of us, is just finding our stride and what feels good for us. And
it doesn't matter what that stride is. Like you were just saying, you're easing into it. There are someone will go, well, is there a wrong way to go silver? Is there a right way to go silver? No, there's just your way to go silver.
Exactly.
If you want to do highlights to get there, go for it. If you want to go all natural, go for it. If you want to wear wigs to get there, go for it. It's however you are comfortable with getting to where your natural beauty comes from.
Yes. If you had to give your reinvention journey a theme, Robin, what would that be?
The reinvention was probably I am silver beauty. I don't think I grew up not feeling very beautiful in a sense. I didn't like, I didn't think I thought I was too skinny at one point, and then I was too heavy, and then my hair was too dark, and then it was too light. And then, there wasn't a lot of positive self-talk. So for me, that I am silver beauty really resonates with me because I really came to a place where I had to be able to accept myself, all its faults and good and bad, myself, and realize I'm beautiful in here first and foremost. And that's where it counts most, in the heart space, right? Like if you're beautiful inside and you have a heart of gold, you can't go wrong. And so the I am silver beauty is really how I would describe my reinvention, because it's a matter of just defining beauty on my terms, in inside, outside, the whole package.
On my terms. That is what I love best about that. Defining beauty on your terms, which is what I hope all of us can move toward, even if we're not there now, because to me, it's like a continuum. We can always move forward at the right time when we feel good about that. And you exemplify that so beautifully. Robin, I am loving our conversation. And I know other people are hearing this and just like glued to this, like, oh my gosh, this magazine and what Robin is doing and all these women is really inspiring. So of course, people want to know, where can they find you? Where can they find Tangled Silver magazine? How can they connect with you online? What are the easiest ways for people to find Robin Salls?
Oh my gosh. Well, you can go to Instagram and Facebook. You can type in Robin Salls. I'll pop up there. You can type in Tangled Silver. My personal Instagram account is Tangled Silver because that's originally how it started. It was just to journey my silver hair journey before I decided to do the magazine. Obviously, Tangled Silver magazine. You can find that online as well on our website, all the social media channels. We're on Pinterest as well. I mean, pretty much just type it in and you'll get directed to where you can find us. And I love it when people reach out to me. I mean, if you're reaching out, know that chances are you're going to get through to me directly, because I really want to develop our community. And I think it's important for people to be touchable and for you to feel like you can reach out to us. You can pretty much just type it in, either the name or the magazine, and you'll find me some way.
Thank you. And we've got all of that in the show notes. So you can just tap and easily find Robin in all these different places. Robin, I cannot thank you enough for joining me today for this fantastic conversation about your reinvention journey and the inspiring things that you're doing with the magazine and the community that you're creating, because I feel like as we age, we all need more community and that kind of connection that sometimes is missing. So thank you for being amazing and doing this work and inspiring us.
Well, thank you so much for having me in here, because I love this show. The minute I saw the word rebels, I was like, oh yeah, I need to follow this woman. So thank you for what you're doing, because you're also helping to inspire us to all take on those next chances and reinvent ourselves.
Well, it takes a village, right? And we're all part of it. So we're part of that midlife women village doing awesome things. So thank you, friend. Thank you for gracing me with your presence.
Thank you so much too.
I loved this conversation with Robin. I hope you did too. I had so many takeaways, and I'm thinking about that in the context of my own silver sort of journey, right? I'm starting that journey, baby steps, and this just reinforced this idea that we can all find our way, that it is possible for all of us. Yes, sometimes it's a little tough. We have to kind of figure it out in our own time, but there's so much possibility. If you loved this episode, do me a favor if you would. Share it with one or two women that you know would get so much from this too, who might need some inspiration, or they're figuring out their own silver journey, or they might want to know about the Tangled Silver magazine. Maybe they're already Silver Sisters and don't even know. So whoever those people are in your life that could benefit from this fabulous episode, please do me a quick favor. Take a couple of moments and forward it on to those people in your life that you know would love to listen. And If you really, really, really love this episode, I'm going to ask you to take a couple moments, and if you would rate and review it in Apple Podcasts, it makes it easier for other people to find the Reinvention Rebels podcast. And that's the whole idea. We want to inspire as many people as possible to go after their reinvention dreams. I cannot wait to see you back here next week for another episode of the Reinvention Rebels podcast. Until then, keep shining your light. The world needs you and all that you have to offer. Hey, Rebel. If this episode inspired you to think about what's possible in your life, I'll share a little secret. Any of us can reinvent ourselves no matter where we are in our lives, any age, any stage. We just have to decide to get started. Here's a super simple way for you to get going with your reinvention dreams. Download my audio, 5 questions to spark your curiosity and inspire your reinvention journey. I share 5 key questions that will spur your thinking, help you uncover your dreams, and motivate you to take action. Because if not now, when? Details in the show notes. Let's get inspired together.